So you've probably heard your coaches tell you as a football team that you're too nice as a team, you understand? You're too nice as a football team, or you've heard this phrase being used to describe other football teams. Maybe you don't know exactly what this actually means, so today I'll be explaining what this actually looks like on the football pitch and the importance of having controlled aggression as an individual player. So when your football coach tells you that you're too nice on the football pitch, what he's essentially saying is that you won't do anything in your powers to win the game and you don't want it as badly as the other team. So for example, the other team are flying into more challenges, they're going up for more headers, they're just running harder than you, they're pressing you harder than you're pressing them, they're making runs in behind, they're showing for the ball, essentially just doing anything they can to help their team win. They're not focused on anything else, they're just there locked in, just focused on doing whatever it takes for their team to win, just putting in the hard work and just making sure they do anything to get the victory. We've all been there, we've all been on both sides where sometimes there are days where as a team you just want it more than the other team and you can feel it, especially me playing in midfield. You can just feel that in games, you can just feel that, yo, you just want it more than the other midfielders. You're winning your individual battles in midfield. You're winning your headers. You're just popping the ball around the other midfielders. You just feel slightly faster on the day. I don't know how to explain it, but I'm pretty sure we've all felt it. You just feel faster on the day. You just feel sharper than your opponent. You just want it more, which will obviously lead to the victory. And then there's some days where it's just like, for some reason, the other team just want it more than you. It's not that you're not trying hard as an individual player or as a team, but for some reason on that day, something's just in the air as a footballer on that day where it's just like, it's just their day, you understand? They just want it more than you. Maybe that particular league game is just more important to them on the day than it is to your team, but for some reason, you're getting outrun in midfield, they're popping the ball around you, they're winning every header, they're winning every challenge. And like I said before, it's not like you're not trying. Maybe some days you're not putting in 100%, but there are many days where you're putting in 100%, and for some reason they're just quicker, they're just sharper to every loose ball. They're popping the ball about. They're just quicker on the ball. Their decision making is better on the ball that day. So when your coach says that you're too nice on the pitch, it's basically just essentially them saying that, yo, you're not willing to do anything it takes to win. You understand? You don't want it as badly as the other team. Mainly in this situation, they're mainly referring to the physicality side of the game. So like I said, winning headers, going in for challenges, whether it's slide tackles, standing tackles, whether it's working hard, tracking back, whatever position you play, tracking back, and we've all heard that phrase of just simply wanting it more. One weakness that many footballers have is improving their weak foot. For some reason, a lot of players I've spoken to just can't seem to figure out how to improve their weak foot, whether they're right-footed or left-footed. But luckily for you, I've made a course on how to improve your weak foot. This course is currently in the works. In this course, I'm going to be showing you drills. I'm going to be teaching you how to get better at, different aspects of the game in terms of your weak foot. So passing, your shooting, your dribbling. And I'll be teaching you stuff outside of the pitch that can actually help your weak foot as well, things that no other football YouTuber is talking about. So if you're interested, if you want to improve your weak foot, click the first link in the description, get the course, and trust me, you won't regret. Your weak foot will 100% improve. Now, having controlled aggression as an individual player is literally all about becoming that sort of player where players hate to play against you, understand? You want to become one of those players where other players say about you that they'll love to play with you, but they'll hate to play against you, simply because, just like in the other point about me saying when your coach says you're too nice, simply because you do anything to win, you understand? You often come off as a dickhead on the football pitch, but the thing is, you don't even have to be a dickhead in real life. But in my opinion, as a footballer, every single great footballer, you have to have that nasty streak to you. You have to have that bite to you. It's impossible to be a top player without that nasty streak in you, you understand? You have to have that bit of that bit of nasty to you where you're willing to do anything you can, you're clipping people's ankles, you're just aggressive, you're flying into challenges, you're willing to get into people's faces, you're willing to, shout, communicate on the football pitch, and just essentially play mind games with the other team, as long as it leads to your team, winning the game. A lot of footballers who are essentially nice guys struggle to, flip this switch. They struggle to flip this switch. I used to struggle to flip this switch when I was younger as well, where on the football pitch, I didn't have that nasty streak in me, so I came off as timid, you understand? I came off as timid, I wasn't shouting for the ball, I wasn't running hard, I wasn't, flying into properly flying into challenges, wanting to win headers, you know what I'm saying? And yeah, that will essentially just lead to me not playing as well. However, once I developed that sort of nasty streak and I understood, okay, cool, there's a switch that I need to make. Around like, what, 12, 13, I realized, alright, cool, there's a switch that I need to make. Maybe I'm not a dickhead in real life, but yo, on the football pitch, I just have to have this mentality of, yo, fuck the other team. I don't care about the other team. I'm doing whatever it takes for me to win. You know, I'm flying into challenges. If they're trying to get me off the ball, I'm just putting my forearm in. I'm just telling them, move, man. Just being aggressive all over the football pitch. You understand? Not being afraid to, you know, get in players' faces. If a player pushes you off the ball, yo, give it to them back. You understand? Don't just, you know, don't just get pushed and do nothing. You understand? But a lot of footballers don't understand that you have to have this switch. A lot of players think that, if you're a nice guy in real life, then you have to be a good guy on the pitch, you understand? And people think that, the only time you can actually turn on that controlled aggression on the pitch is if you're like that in real life. And it's like, nah, you can be two completely different people on and off the pitch. For a lot of footballers, you know, your personality does sort of reflect how you play on the pitch. Like, I can understand that. If you're a really sort of relaxed player on the football pitch, you don't really feel pressure, you're probably sort of like that in real life. Take like Cole Palmer, for example. Cole Palmer on the football pitch, you know what I'm saying? He's just ice cold, doesn't really feel pressure, and it's sort of just like that in real life. The guy's just chill, he doesn't really like to do too much. And then there's a lot of time as well, guys like Roy Keane, aggressive on the football pitch, you understand? Aggressive on the football pitch, and in real life, he's kind of, you can see with his punchy, he's kind of the same. But however, there are a lot of players where it's like, a lot of players flip the switch. Some guys I've heard are the nicest guys off the football pitch, but as soon as they get onto the pitch, they just turn into an animal, you understand? They just turn into a guy who's just nasty to play with. Like, probably a guy like Luis Suarez, you understand? For everything that Suarez has done, bro, I've never heard a teammate speak bad about Suarez. Probably because off the pitch, he's you know what I'm saying? He's a nice guy, he's a likable guy, but as soon as he gets onto the pitch, he turns into a demon, you understand? That's a great example. Another example is probably like Jude Bellingham. You hear Jude Bellingham in the interviews, you know what I'm saying? He's talking all mature, he's all mature. Everyone's like, Jude's so mature, Jude's this, he's that. You know what I'm saying? He articulates himself so well. How is he so mature for a 19-year-old, or I think he's 20 now? How is he so mature for a 20-year-old? But you see him on the pitch, he's not afraid to get into people's faces. You see Bellingham all the time with his dirty kit, flying into challenges, winning headers, not being afraid to be physical. You see him all the time, you know. I've seen him off the ball just bumping players for no reason, just sort of asserting, because he knows he needs to sort of just assert that dominance of like, yo, I'm here to win the game, I don't care. He's not afraid to get into people's faces. He's been sent off for, you know, swearing at referees. Like, he doesn't care, you understand? You need to have that switch as a footballer of like, alright, cool. Even if you're not naturally, you know, that guy off the pitch, you have to have that switch once you get onto the pitch. And in my opinion, the main way to flip this switch is to get into the zone, you understand? Get into a flow state. Now, what is the flow state? Flow state is where you get into a state of where you don't care how you do it, what you do it. You don't have any other thoughts in your brain apart from winning the game for your team, performing at your best and winning the game for your team. Now, that description is pretty much similar to what I described controlled aggression as, it, where you just get onto the pitch and you don't care really about anything, and you just go out there and you're just like, yo, I need to do anything to help my team. Even if I come off as a dickhead on the football pitch, doesn't matter. Off the football pitch, I can be a nice guy, but on the football pitch, I don't care. If you're not on my team, then basically it's fuck you, you understand? So, yeah, that's literally, it's basically similar to getting into a flow state. Now, how do you get into this flow state? There are many ways to get into this flow state, but if you want to know more about the flow state, I've made a video on this channel about how to get into the flow state before the game. So you're locked in and you don't have any thoughts in your brain. You're literally just thinking about how you can perform at your best to help your team win. There's no nerves, there's no worries, there's no anxiety. Even getting into the zone, it's one of them ones where you're not nervous, you're not anxious, however you're not too hyped, you understand? Getting into the zone is one of them things. Getting into a flow state is one of them things where you're not too hyped. You're not you're not too hyped, you're not too excited, you're not too rash, because the thing is with being too rash and overly aggressive, this is why I use the term controlled aggression, is that if you're ruthlessly aggressive, bro, you're gonna get sent off, you're gonna lose your head easily, you're gonna, like I said, get sent off, cost your team the game, you understand? You're going to ultimately be a negative for your team. But controlled aggression is that more subtleness, you understand? It's just letting the opponent know, flying into challenges, letting the opponent know that you're not going to be fucked with. And the thing is with getting into a flow state is that, like I said, you don't want to be anxious, nervous, worrying to the point where it's affecting your performances. However, you don't want to be too excited, too too hard, because that just leads to you being rash on the football pitch. You understand? Making rash decisions on the ball and off the ball. So yeah, being in the flow state is literally, you're just in that perfect middle zone where you don't have any thoughts, you're just focused. It's like you're quietly confident, you understand? You're not too hyped, you're not too down, you're just there in a middle state where no thoughts are entering your brain apart from what you need to do on the match day to help your team win. But that is the video on why footballers need to have controlled aggression. You understand? You need to have that nasty streak in you. You need to have that flip. Even if you're a quote unquote good guy off the football pitch, you're a nice guy. You know what I'm saying? On the football pitch, you have to have that switch. You have to be nasty. You have to sort of just turn into that demon. Because like I said, turning into that demon is ultimately gonna help you play your best on the football pitch. But hope you enjoyed the vid. Let me know any other vids you want to see in the comment section below. I've been JT and I'm out.